Hey, good morning. This is Ben Kruger with Old School Manufacturing. Hey, we wanted to make a short video concerning replacement of your drive belt or the alignment of the drive belt due to the pulley bushings moving. We do want to keep in mind standard operation requires retorque of the pulleys 3 times within the first hour of operation. I personally recommend that at 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and 30 minutes of operation. Those should be retorqued to about 65 foot-pounds. Those would be the large pulleys that you can view at the end of the video. On the generator itself, those would take a 3/4 inch socket, 65 foot-pounds. There are 3 of them located right by the generator shaft. And then there would also be 3 more on the large PTO pulley. Those on a 16-row system would be 13/16. On all the other systems, they would also be 3/4 inch, 65 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and get started. We've done some preliminary work. You can see the drive belt is laying down below the machine. I have a floor jack here with me. We already have all of our bolts loose on our drive pulley to try to speed this video up and get to the critical parts of it. I'm going to roll my floor jack in under the system. I'm going to raise that drive pulley up to give me clearance to go get my belt in and out. So at this point I have my jack in place, and I'm going to go ahead and reach in here, and I'm going to raise the pulley up with one hand, kind of hold it in position with the other hand. You'll notice that I'm taking the pulley up towards a 3-point or the top link mount in the back of the cart. You will notice that it is important that you keep the drive belt back on the jack. Do not put it in front of the pulley or you will get to take it loose and do it again. We're going to feed that drive belt out through the gap behind the pulley. Don't get your fingers pinched. Stuff's going to try to move. Okay, at this point you can see our drive belt here. This is obviously a good drive belt, so we're going to put it back on, but I wanted you to see the removal process. Installation process is very similar. Pulley's raised up at this point. We simply feed the drive belt back down through there. You notice that our jack rolled back a little bit. I'll push my jack back forward. That gives me a gap where I can actually feed that drive belt through there. This is a lot easier if you got 2 guys doing it, but Dad's shooting the video, so we're going to fly solo. At this point I have my drive belt fed back around there. I'm going to go ahead and begin to put that down. It will be a little bit tricky to get the bolts lined back up to go in. I usually leave it a little bit loose so that I can maneuver it whenever I get up front here, especially if I'm doing it by myself. These are slotted holes, so I have that back in there at this point. I will remove my floor jack as I'm done with it for now. I'll come around to the driver's side, feed my belt over my generator pulley and over my large pulley at this point. Okay, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and get my measurement here, and I'm going to tighten up the back flange bearing mount, this piece right back here. I'm going to tighten that down, and then we'll start in on the video with the alignment portion. Okay, we're looking in the other side of the cart here now, and I already have my back flange bearing tightened down with these 2 bolts here accessible from the rear of the cart. One thing I wanted to point out to you is the measurement between here and the outside of the frame. Once again, from the vertical flange mount there to the outside of the frame, 30 1/2 inches. Okay, that's going to be a really good starting point. Ultimately, what we're looking for is the small aluminum idler pulley. We want that to be centered between the 2 large pulleys. This is the PTO pulley. Once again, those bolts that I was talking about torquing are accessible right here as far as retorquing of the bushings, but this is what we consider the PTO pulley, and then of course we have the generator pulley. We want those 3 pulleys in there. We have the idler pulley and we have the 2 large pulleys. We want the idler pulley centered between the 2 large pulleys. We don't want it up against one or the other. We want it centered in between them. That might not be the best example, but you use what you got. I want you to understand that it's very critical that those be centered. Okay, at this point we're going to go ahead and begin the alignment portion. Dad's going to get on the other side over there. We're going to set our camera still here and hope that we get a video that everybody can understand as far as the alignment goes. Okay, we're back again. We're getting ready to do our pulley alignment. So at this point I already have our deflector plate put back on, and I have our 2 bolts, and I have nuts started on them on our front flange bearing mount. We tighten up the rear ones first, we tighten up the front ones last. We have a longer shaft so we can pull it side to side. You're welcome to do it reverse of that if you want to. I wanted to point out one more thing. We do always loosen the back flange bearing mount set screws. If we do not loosen those, then we will get this in a bind if we happen to get those plates closer together at the bottom or farther apart. We want everything to go back in alignment, so we loosen up those 2 set screws, 3/16 Allen wrench. You will notice on the tools that that was identified, as well as Loctite. Everything we do here at Old School Manufacturing, we use Loctite. Okay, Dad's going to go ahead and jump off the camera now. We're going to get it moved into position, and we're going to perform the pulley alignment using a straight edge. I'll keep talking, and I hope that you can see what we're talking about, but I think this will be a great benefit or a great help to you. 1 1/8" socket on an impact. We use this to tighten up the front and rear bolts once we get it set in position. I'm going to grab my Allen wrench as well. So we can see that our pulley needs to go towards the rear of the cart. So in order to do that, we simply put our pry bar in here, bump our pulley back. Now we have it touching. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see this on the camera, but what I'm looking at is 1, 2, and then the 2 points on the generator pulley also. So we do a 4-point alignment, and we want that to be within 1/8 of an inch at all 4 points. Any more than 1/8 of an inch is not acceptable. Okay, so now we have less than a 32nd of an inch. We have it at all 4 points. I'm going to reach down under with my impact and tighten up our front bolts. I will tighten them up one at a time. And then we will look again and make sure that our pulley didn't move. We're still within about a 32nd of an inch. The first one is tight. Now our second one is tight. The last step in this process will be to tighten down our set screws on our flange bearing. I'm going to get my Loctite. We'll put Loctite on those. We use blue Loctite. Seems like that does what we need it to do. Get it very snug. Once again, 3/16 inch Allen wrench. Okay, Dad's going to come around and get the camera at this point, and we're going to show you the alignment of the 3 pulleys with one another. And that should complete our video. We try to keep it short and sweet and to the point. I'm going to tighten up this last one here. I'll meet you back on the other side of the unit. Thanks. Okay, final step is going to be reinstalling the air cylinder and checking our aluminum pulley placement. You notice here we have our generator pulley, our large pulley, and our aluminum pulley. You'll notice that our pulley is closer to our generator pulley at this point. We do want it some closer. Once again, that probably around 30 to 30 and a half inches is a pretty close starting point. This one is actually a little bit close to the generator pulley, but it's not bad. This will give us some room for stretch on our belt. So once again, about 30 and a half inches. At this point, I get a hold of my air cylinder, feed it down through the hole, let the top of it down on there. I will put Loctite on it and retighten those nuts and bolts. The reason we use Loctite is because we do not want to over tighten this. We simply want this snug enough that it does not rotate in the mount. We do not want to smash those out. Smashing the rubber mounts out will cause the bottom of the stem on the air cylinder to break out or separate. That won't do you any good. So just a good snug is all we're looking for. Let me grab an impact here. So I typically tighten up the bottom one first. Okay, you can see that does not want to move on there now. Simply give my top one a little bit. Okay, that's about all it takes. We just don't want that turning in there. That's all we're looking for. At this point, we'll air this up to about 20 psi of air pressure. And we will check our belt walk on our aluminum pulley. What I'm talking about there is we don't want our belt walking on this aluminum pulley whenever we roll it one direction and then roll it another direction. We want that to stay within about 1/8 of an inch of walk. You can adjust that, loosen the 4 bolts on the bottom, place a pry tool in here, and simply rotate that on the box iron tubing. It doesn't take very much, usually about 1/8 of an inch, and you can get it so that belt does not walk from front to back, more than 1/8 of an inch. I think that's all the key points that I wanted to point out. Once again, you would do that at about 20 psi. At that point, once you have everything aligned and running the way you want it to, you would go ahead and air your pressure up to around 35 or 40 psi of air pressure, and you're ready to go back to work. I hope this video helps. We appreciate everybody's business. We appreciate your patience. God bless and have a good day.